Good evening, race fans, and welcome to the final race of the round of 8 here for the 2022 MSRA Rapid Fired Pizza Nationals, as we are once again here for the final race of the round of 8 before we head into the championship for next week at Nashville Super Speedway. My name is Mason Heimball, Team Goon Squad, bringing you the action here tonight. 1080p, 60 frames a second here from virtual Martinsville Speedway, the legendary and infamous half-a-mile track that we have here tonight. I expect to see a lot of action here for drivers here tonight as we see qualifying underway at this point in time. Drivers the likes of Matt Knight, Brent Wall, Barry Stevens, Kenny Meadows, they're all out on track at this moment. Going to see what sort of times they can put down here in this qualifying session and see exactly where they're going to end up here on the starting grid for the start of tonight's race. And taking a look into the points championship here, David Santini right now sitting at the very tippy top here, but everything coming down to the wire for the cutoff going into next week at the for the championship round next week at Nashville. And right now, Billy Fitzgerald, Kenny Meadows, Mike Howerton, and Jeffrey Meyer all in danger of being in that cutoff zone. So pretty much any one of the 4 drivers that I just mentioned, if they want to be able to find themselves in that last and final championship round, they are going to have to come away with that win essentially here tonight. So far as some drivers have made their way around the track, Billy Fitzgerald actually just now putting down the best time of a 19.33, well ahead of the rest of the field at this point in time. Jeffrey Meyer with a 19.58 as his best time in that second place spot here. So just over 2/10 separating these two drivers and frankly the rest of the field at this point in the race. So Billy Fitzgerald, the number 22 machine, showing that he's got some very, very good pace here tonight at Martinsville, and is currently sitting again in that 5th place spot on the outside of that cutoff point going into next week for the championship. For Billy Fitzgerald, going to want to do as well, really start the race as well as he possibly can and ultimately try and finish as best as he possibly can and hopefully come home with a trophy here tonight. Bobby Harmon that we're locked on here with right now, the number 73 machine, currently sitting 6th place at this point in time. Going to bring that race car to a stop here on the back straightaway. Not something you would normally see in the real world, but here in the lovely world of virtual sim racing with the iRacing service, you don't necessarily have to worry about things like going down into the pits and making sure you get yourself to your proper stall and all that fun stuff. Nothing you really have to worry about there. You can just do your driving and get right to it. But drivers right now, again, qualifying still underway, and Billy Fitzgerald, after putting that impressive 19.33 on the board, so far no other driver has come out here to respond to that. And so far the only other driver out on track at this moment is going to be David Santini, who currently sits 3rd at this moment on the timing tower here with a 19.58, again tied with Jeffrey Meyer for that 2nd place spot. So I don't know. I think Billy Fitzgerald is going to have it in the bag as far as qualifying is concerned. He's going to have that guarantee of starting out in the front. Whether or not he's going to start inside or outside, I would have to imagine here at Martinsville that outside lane is probably where you're going to want to be to get that best entry into turns 1 and 2. But it's also been a little while since I've been here personally to Martinsville, so it's great to be back. And folks, for all of you tuning in, watching at home, I hope you're all excited. I hope you're all ready for the action here tonight as we get things ready. Just a little under a minute left before we see that checkered flag wave here, indicating the end of our qualifying session here. Let's take a look. We have a huge fan of Matt Knight here and hope he has the tactics for a W. So got a fan for the number 25 driver, Matt Knight, currently sitting 10th on this qualifying run here, as we're going to see a little bit of a last-ditch run here from Richard Malagani in the number 14 machine. Going to come out on track here a little bit later than what he probably would like to, but with just under 10 seconds left, it's probably not going to come out to anything major here, as he still has to come around the track before the checkered flag is. There it is. It's going to wave here, and we're going to go ahead and get into our starting grid of tonight's race. Aussie. You know, that makes me wish that we had our fellow commentator, my coworker, Gareth McAllister, with us here tonight. That would just make that even more funny. But anyway, let's go into our starting lineup here tonight. Billy Fitzgerald, Jeffrey Meyer up in the front row. David Santini, Colby Baber taking the second row here tonight. Barry Stevens, Bobby Harmon in the third row. Evan Longacre, Kenny Meadows will be in the fourth row here tonight. Brent Wall, Matt Knight in the sixth row here. And Robert Cook, Scott Stevens going to be in that seventh row. As we move ourselves down the grid here, only a few drivers left. John Binder, Chris Hansen in our eighth row, and Richard Malagani taking the tail end of the field after not exactly able to get a qualifying lap in before that flag was waved. And folks, apologies if I do sound a little under the weather. Doing my best here, but if I do sound a little sniffly, a little nasally, again, I do apologize for that. But just waiting for our field to get out on track here, get themselves ready for the start of tonight's action. It's going to be some pretty intense action here tonight at Martinsville. I got to say, every time that we come here, you know, things can go one of two ways, and more often than not, things can get pretty hectic pretty quickly here at Martinsville. But that's why fans love it. That's why we love coming here, and that's why we see it on that schedule oh so often. And I'm all for it, and I'm really all for the action that we have going into this championship round next week at Nashville. I mean, we have 4 drivers right now that are, well, honestly, we could even kind of include the scope of really this entire field, with the exception of David Santini, who has locked himself in, if I recall correctly here. Yeah, so David won at Homestead, so he has secured himself into the championship round. So that leaves Colby Baber, Barry Stevens, Evan Longacre, and to also include the drivers at risk of being cut out of the championship here: Billy Fitzgerald, Kenny Meadows, Mike Howerton, Jeffrey Meyer. This is huge, folks. Right now, Billy Fitzgerald, currently the closest driver to getting himself out of the cutoff zone, with only 15 points that he needs tonight in order to get himself above that barrier. But he also needs to finish better than Evan Longacre, than Barry Stevens, than Colby Baber in order to get himself where he needs to be for that championship round. But as we're still pacing along here, getting ourselves ready for the 230 laps that we will see here tonight. There goes the pace car as we get ourselves off into turn 3 and 4. And we await the green flag to drop here as we go through the Geico restart zone. And there is the green flag back. Well, the start of the action here tonight, and staying too wide. Driver's going to take things very, very cautiously. Not seeing too much aggression throughout this field here, and frankly, that's almost exactly what I would want to see early on in this race. You don't necessarily want to see drivers getting too hot too early on, knowing that you have 230 laps, and then we also have a stage break, which I will have to find here in just a second. I believe that's going to be lap 65 is where we're going to see that yellow flag come out. A predetermined stage break here for the 2022 MSRA Rapid Fired Pizza Nationals, brought to you by Rapid Fired Pizza as well as Old School Ninjas. Huge shout out, huge thank you to all of the sponsors on board for this season, and as well as, I believe, Jeffrey Meyer and Nitro Racing, who award the 13th place driver $50 as well as a random non-playoff driver will win $10 every race of the playoffs. So great to have that kind of incentive for the drivers and give them a little something extra to fight for, other than just points here, as Barry Stevens has a little bit of a moment on the front straightaway coming out of turn number 4. Let's take a look at the instant replay here to see exactly how this one unfolds for Barry Stevens. Just kind of getting a little bit of a slow motion look here. I don't want to go too quickly here. Granted, they're not going very fast around the track anyway. Looks like a self-spin, and man, oh man, it really... I just want to rewind here and see if he caught that curb. A little bit, but not... I don't know if that was solely the cause there, but either way, just a minor racing incident and really a lot of front-end damage here, it looks like, to that number 78. Definitely probably hit it a little bit harder than he meant to here, but hey, either way. As we're going to get the field lined back up here. Ready to go for the next restart here tonight. And once again, I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in, everyone for watching. Hopefully everyone's enjoying the action thus far. A little bit of early race cautions that we've seen come out here, and potentially, I don't want to say a trend here, but it could be something that we could see for these drivers, just trying to get a little bit of the early race jitters out here. Martinsville, definitely a tough track and definitely going to pose a lot of challenges for each and every single one of these drivers here. Definitely going to be a place where passing is challenging. You're really going to have to be on your A game for all 230 laps here. And I think for drivers like Billy Fitzgerald, he's well aware of that. David Santini, Jeffrey Meyer, Bobby Harmon. I mean, pretty much everyone in this race here tonight knows that it's going to be a battle of attrition here and really a test of all of these driver skills here tonight. And I gotta say, for the final round of the round of 8 going into the championship, I gotta say this is nice selection here. If let me see here. I got Evan Longacre. If Evan Longacre is the one that's responsible for the track selection every season, I got to say, chef kiss. Very nice. Very, very nice. Anyway, lining back up here down the back straightaway, Billy Fitzgerald, David Santini up in the front row, Jeffrey Meyer, Bobby Harmon second row, Colby Baber, Evan Longacre going to be in that third row here as we get back to green flag racing once we come out of turn number 4 here and through the Geico restart zone. The green flag will drop here from the marshal's stand, and there it goes. Back to green flag. Billy Fitzgerald kind of going against what I was kind of talking about earlier in the race. I was wondering if potentially you would take that outside lane here at Martinsville to be able to get a little... Whoa! Colby Baber, not exactly what we want to see here for the number 10 driver. Calamity. Oh my, our camera crew had not even knowing where to point the camera now at this point, but I'm surprised that the caution has not come out here. That was, wow. And frankly, this has been quite the interesting bit of events here. We're going to see if we can go back and look at that just really, really quickly here. So here's Colby Baber, contact from the 95 machine, and he slides up into the middle of turn 3. Evan Longacre trying to avoid all of that. And wow, just it only got slightly worse from there, but apparently not enough to bring out the caution here. And gotta say, great work there from the marshals here. I mean, clearly the race is still able to keep going. Granted, there's probably bits and pieces of race car all laying in that section of the track here, about right there. But it's, again, doesn't seem to be affecting any of the drivers here at this moment. Lap 14 of 230. Again, a long race left for these drivers here tonight. And really the first thing that I'm going to be looking out for and really going to kind of wonder here as this is going to be the real kind of key point for tonight's race, is your pit strategy. Each driver is going to have a different kind of idea, not necessarily totally unique, but they're going to have their own kind of idea of when they want to come down into pit road. And really, I think as a driver in certain situations, you might even change your strategy just based on what you're doing behind the driver in front of you. So I mean, if they decide to stay out a little bit longer, you might do the same if you can make it happen. Let's go through the back of the field here. Let's take a look at some of the action happening throughout some of the field here at this moment, as again, seeing some separation happening early on in this race, as Richard Malagani back there not quite having the best internet day here today. Gonna find himself just kind of hanging out back there in 16th at this moment. But Chris Hansen on the tail end of what used to be the tail end of the 64 of Robert Cook. Robert Cook's machine definitely has seen some better days here, it looks like, in that rear end. Well, I guess you get a little bit more airflow through there. I'm not entirely too sure here. But beyond that, Mike Howerton's kind of up here in his lonesome here as well in the number 51 machine, currently sitting 13th at this moment, with Barry Stevens just ahead of him. Currently closing in on Scott Steffens in the number 55, one of the other Area 51 machines here tonight. There is definitely a good number of the Area 51 team here, as there is for Old School Ninjas Racing, Nitro Racing as well. There's a lot of teams here. There's a lot of drivers in this series, in this league, and they all put on some phenomenal racing and phenomenal events every single week. So great work to every single one of these drivers. Great work to all of the league managers, the administrators that oversee things and put these races on every single week. And big thank you, big shout out to our sponsors, of course, who also put these events on for us and make it something we can all enjoy together, and not just a bunch of drivers just turning laps together. Even though that's all fun and games, it's also fun to have your friends and family and others enjoying the action here, as Scott Stevens, the 55 machine, finds himself in a little bit of trouble here in the number 55 once again. Let's take a look here at what happened for Scott here. Going through 3 and 4, and just a slide right through 3 and stops right at the top. Right in the middle between 3 and 4, and really couldn't ask for a better kind of situation than that during a slide, especially on a track like Martinsville, where you can find yourself in that wall and you could seriously damage your race car. That's the last thing you want to be doing. I mean, you can sacrifice positions, you can kind of bald spot your tires a little bit. That's all easily fixable within a few seconds down in pit road. But, once you start getting into that wall, once you start beating up on those tires a little bit and beating up on the suspension and so on and so forth, that's when things really start to get dicey, and the handling of your car can really start to come into question as a driver. And that's not something that you want to have to convey to your pit crew or to your crew chief, saying, hey, my car is not driving the way that it should be anymore. I need to get it fixed. Obviously, if you're in iRacing, you don't necessarily need to do that, but some drivers, they do have and will utilize, they will utilize other people to be able to assist in those positions, fill in those roles, give them other data that they otherwise cannot do while they are behind the wheel. So sometimes that is the case. Most of the time it isn't for the sim racing community, but it's always nice to see a good team, a great team, come together and kind of play that role for one another. So Mems, I hope I'm saying your name correctly. excuse me if I'm saying it incorrectly. But they say, who has the best livery today? That's a good question. Let's go ahead and I'm gonna stick with my guns here. I gotta go with Kenny Meadows. All right, this is kind of my personal favorite up here in the booth. The 96 Rolex machine. I don't know, man. That's a clean machine right there. I love that thing. That's a nice car. But if I had to give a close second here, if we go back in the field just a little tiny bit here, the number 20 right here of Chris Hansen, what is that, a Nerf GameStop machine? I love the colors on this. It looks fantastic. That looks great. And as we go back to green flag racing, side by side throughout most of the field, as we come down the back straightaway, taking a look at some of the action here back towards the 10th place spot at this moment. Some drivers fighting for positions up towards the front as they go single file. Chris Hansen, the number 20, stuck up on the outside of David Santini here. There's trouble here for Jeffrey Meyer in the Nitro Racing 50 machine. Let's take a look here and see how this one unfolded here for Jeffrey Meyer. Going into turn 1. Everything's seemingly calm at the moment. Oh, just a big slide. Big old slide, and there goes the tap to the rear end. Another one to the front, but I don't think that's going to be really anything to worry about here. Just minor body damage that can be easily banged out with a hammer down in pit road. So, or take back together, whatever your flavor might happen to be of the day. The Rolex is clean. I gotta say, it's been one of my favorite paint schemes among the field this whole season. Every time I see it, I'm just like, man, that's a nice looking car right there. If I was a driver and I had the opportunity to drive something like that, I would be happy. I would be very happy. Not because it says Rolex on it, but it just looks cool. I mean, honestly, it just looks awesome. The gold paint with the white, a little bit of green in there. It kind of, as much as it kind of reminds me of golfing in the Masters series, it still looks cool, regardless. Let's see if we can get a little bit more of a showcase here on some of the other paints that we have here, as we're still pacing around with the pace car in tow, and taking a look at the number 22 of Billy Fitzgerald, who again has been leading the field this entire race. The JMU Dukes. I'm assuming this is obviously a team, a team of some sort. I don't know what sport exactly. You can tell how much I follow sports other than motorsport, because I'm just all that familiar with different teams around. The Dukes, if without cheating, I'm going to have to guess, is it college basketball? Maybe? I don't know. But that's my guess. I'm gonna go with college basketball on that one. As the pace car goes back into pit road, we get ready for the green flag to drop here once again. The field getting stacked back up here into the Geico restart zone. The green flag drops. And Billy Fitzgerald continuing to not take any time at all. He's not being impatient, or, well, yeah, he's not being impatient at all with trying to get his little bit of a lead here as he can here on such a small track like Martinsville. And look at this bundle of cars here as we go through 1 and 2 once again, and down the back straightaway. Some smoke being thrown out from underneath the 25 of Matt Knight's machine here as he came out of turn number 2. The 25, I believe that was the Warfighter. If anyone had a Toronto Maple Leaf livery, I would be their #1 fanboy. You know, I want to say there is a driver somewhere, and I'm trying to remember their name now, but I'm blanking on it, of course, that did actually have, I don't know if it was the Toronto Maple Leafs, but I remember a Leaf on their car. As ridiculous as that may sound, but I have a feeling that it was the Toronto Maple Leafs. Good action happening throughout this field, though, as I'm giving myself a good chuckle up in the booth. Colby Baber, a little bit of damage to the rear end, and it doesn't necessarily look at it when you look at it from the front end, but look at that rear end. It's definitely seen a little bit of better days here to that number 10 machine. But he's keeping with it. He's keeping up here with David Zentini, who's currently sitting in that 5th place spot. And again, a lot of these drivers going to be looking to finish as well as they possibly can. David Zentini, again, doesn't necessarily have to worry about where he finishes tonight. He's already secured himself into the final round. Billy Fitzgerald, on the other hand, he is currently the driver that is the closest to that cutoff. And if he wins tonight's race, he will be able to put himself into that championship round, which remains the question. Who's going to be the one that drops out? From the 3 drivers that we have currently outside of that cutoff, we have Colby Baber, we have Barry Stevens, Evan Longacre. Right now, Colby Baber, let's see here, Evan Longacre, and I am seeing Barry Stevens is actually a little bit further back than where he would like to be at this point in the race. So again, this is all going to come down to position and where you end up finishing after tonight's race. And Scott Stevens, oh boy, missing some body work to the rear end of that 55 machine, getting a little bit loose out of turn 4, getting that car sideways. But caution comes back out here once again, and we're going to get the field restacked and re-racked and ready to go here once again for another attempt at a green flag run here. And so far, we haven't, I don't think we've really had a solid green flag run yet. We've had some good short runs, but this really doesn't give drivers who maybe were hoping for potentially a more of a long run kind of race tonight. This is really going to potentially affect them. Or I could be totally wrong. A lot of these drivers may have came in tonight and assumed that it was going to kind of be like what we're seeing right now. Not necessarily a caution fest, but we're definitely seeing an increased amount of cautions, to say the least. And that's just the nature of Martinsville. That's just the nature of the racing here, and how things can devolve very quickly, and how aggressive the racing can be here. But that's why we love it. Because right now we're just taking along with the pace car in tow, just awaiting for, once again, that pace car to make its way back down into pit road and get ourselves ready to go back to green flag racing here. They probably choke in any playoff racing. Oh, man. You know what? I'm going to find that driver, and I'm going to remember this conversation, and I'm going to... Oh, gosh, that's going to give me a good chuckle. But thank you for notifying me of that, and now I'm gonna have a great time with that. But let's see here. We're just awaiting for that pace car to make its way. And speaking of We see it make its way down to pit lane, and we're going to go back to green flag racing here in just a short moment. Billy Fitzgerald going to have Brent Wall starting alongside him. David Zentini, Kenny Meadows in that second row. Colby Baber, Evan Longacre in the third row. And there goes Fitzgerald, taking no time at all here to get himself up in front of this field and trying to keep himself away from all the action that's happening. And we've got the 96 machine sideways. Kenny Meadows gets contact right in, oh boy, right into the entry of turn 3, and it is a bundle of cars wrapped up in the mix of things here. Let's back things up, take a look at the instant replay, and see exactly how this one unfolds. Go a little bit faster here. Comes up right about here. There goes Longacre right into the side of Kenny Meadows, and from there, it's a domino effect. Mike Howerton, nowhere to go. Actually, he makes it through that one. I thought he made contact in that one. Oh, and there goes the 20 machine of Chris Hansen, the 73 of Bobby Harmon. Scott Stevens even looking to try and get around that, but isn't able to. That is a lot of hurt race cars down here on pit road, folks. I gotta say, that is, wow. So that's going to be our 5th caution of the race here today. Billy Fitzgerald, David Santini, Brent Wall, all going to be 1, 2, and 3. And I can't imagine that we're going to go single file here. I believe that we will see the field gets lined back up here for for a double file restart here. We're going to give a shout out here to the 25 of Matt Knight in the Warfighter coffee machine here tonight. Bringing some fans along with them to watch the action here tonight at Martinsville. And I got to say, he picked a good night to bring the fans, to bring the goons with him. And really some great action that we've seen so far here tonight. And Matt Knight doing a pretty good job all the way up into 6th place at this moment, up 4 spots from where he started up in that 10th place spot. So slowly but surely taking his way through the field here, and now has to kind of work his way through some very challenging drivers. We've got Mike Howerton, Colby Baber, Brent Wall, David Santini, Billy Fitzgerald all up here. Man, they all are going to be gunning for a lead spot here tonight, and frankly for a win here tonight. Any one of the drivers that are sitting outside of that cutoff point. Again, Billy Fitzgerald, Kenny Meadows, Mike Howerton, Jeffrey Meyer. And I got to say, for Jeffrey Meyer and Kenny Meadows, man, it has been a rough night. And it's not just to say for those 2 drivers. It's caught a lot of drivers here tonight. Everyone's got their fair share of damage and, frankly, fair share of battles here tonight. And Billy Fitzgerald ultimately has been able to keep away from all of that here tonight, doing a phenomenal job keeping himself up in the lead, not allowing anyone to catch up to him and really put some pressure on him here. As we're going to take a look towards the tail end of the field here for just a second, you can see Evan Longacre's 95 machine. It has definitely seen some better days. I can imagine that radiator, probably has never been that cool ever. I'm only kidding, but I got to imagine if there's anything done to that front end that might make that car kind of, I want to say, potentially make it understeer a little bit. Let's actually, to answer that question, let's actually ride on board here with Mr. Evan Longacre, and let's have a looky-loo. Oh, he's really cranking on that wheel to make this thing turn. Now, for reference, let's go to Billy Fitzgerald up here in first place, just to kind of give us a little bit of a visual reference as to what a normal turn looks like. So Fitzgerald, okay, so between those two, all right, so maybe Longacre isn't as, oh boy, we got another caution out here too. So anyway, my point being here, maybe Evan's not in as bad of a position as I thought he was. Just looks a little bit worse for wear. But let's go ahead and take a look at what happened here on this replay. Involving Longacre potentially in this one. Oh, there goes Matt Knight. The 25 machine gets sideways. Luckily avoids any more major contact through that one. Robert Cook, the 64 Wrangler machine, going to catch a little bit more of the damage from that event, but ultimately going to be able to walk away from that one. Still able to keep out on the racetrack here. And so far, folks, with only one lap before we see the stage caution come out here, which I gotta wonder if, since this is technically when the stage caution would come out, if we're gonna see a stage caution, or if they're just gonna extend the current caution that we already have. I'm not sure. I don't know what's going on in the race control booth at the moment, but I'm assuming that there's something being done up there that we will figure out here. But lap 60 of 230 here, and Billy Fitzgerald, Brent Wall up in the first row with Mike Howerton, John Binder in our second row, Kenny Meadows and Barry Stevens going to be in our third row. And so far, Billy Fitzgerald, Brent Wall, and Mike Howerton all have yet to come down into pit road and grab a fresh set of tires here. So I'm really curious and really wondering. Okay, they choose to stay out here just a little bit longer as well. So I don't know, folks. This could get very interesting, as potentially Billy and even Brent Wall and Mike Howerton could be under the assumption here that that we could see more of these yellow flags come out, and that they could use that to their advantage to be able to come down into the pits and make a proper pit stop here. But I'm also spitballing here a little bit, as this is also a little bit earlier than what we would expect for drivers to come down into pits anyway for a normal pit run. So I'm not sure. But back to green flag racing we go here. Billy Fitzgerald, oh boy, side-by-side action for these drivers going through 1 and 2 here. Once again, as we come down the back straightaway. Big fall off here towards the back of the field. 64 of Robert Cook. He's going to come down into the pits here. As look at the action coming across the checkered line and back into 1 and 2. Jeffrey Meyer narrowly avoiding the rear end of Evan Longacre there. Oh boy, having to fall back here a little bit. Matt Knight now going to be alongside the number 50 of Meyer as they go through 3 and 4. Door to door between the two. The Warfighter Coffee Machine going to now duke it into 1 and 2, staying on the inside lane here. Oh boy, there's calamity though, with John Binder and Brent Wall. The 6 and 33 machine bringing out the caution here, lap 65 of 230. Let's take a look at the instant replay here. Brent Wall, who was up in that lead position, gets a little bit of a tap from Binder in the 33 machine, and both of the drivers bringing it to a stop. And there goes our leader. And what looks to be the rest of the field here actually making their way down into pit road. So there's the view of Billy Fitzgerald making his way out of pit road. Jeffrey Meyer, Bobby Harmon, meanwhile, up at the front of the field. They're going to take the front row on this restart. David Santini, Colby Baber going to be in that second row. And Billy Fitzgerald and Mike Howerton going to take that third row here tonight. So as we're on lap 69 of 230 here today, again, still quite a long race that we have left here tonight, and 7th caution already. Definitely going to be quite the challenge for drivers here tonight. It's definitely a big question how long you're going to be behind the wheel for, and how long you're going to spend that time behind potentially a pace car here. As the lights are off on the pace car, and we go, the pace car goes down into pit road. Drivers get ready to go back to green flag as we go through the Geico restart zone, and Jeffrey Meyer, the 50 machine, going to have an opportunity to lead this race for the very first time ahead of Billy Fitzgerald, who has led all of the laps thus far. And now David Santini going to try and track his way to the rear of the 50 machine, and now Billy Fitzgerald having to duke it out with some drivers that have all been trying to track him down all this time. Bobby Harmon, the 73 machine, going to find himself a little bit on the outside here of Billy. Billy able to make his way up into that third place spot, now sitting in the top 3. Further fights happening just a little bit behind him for 5th and 6th place. Battle for the lead happening as David Santini able to work his way up to the leader, Jeffrey Meyer. David Santini now going to have an opportunity to lead this field. He taken advantage of the slightly older tires of Jeffrey Meyer. Now Billy Fitzgerald looking to do exactly the same here. But if he's going to want to do it, he's going to have to do it fast because Santini is currently driving away with the lead. And if he's able to get away far enough, it is going to be very difficult to bring that back down. But while that's all going on here, folks, let's go ahead. I want to ride on board here with one of our drivers. Let's ride on board with the 95 driver of Evan Longacre. And let's have a listen to the sights and sounds here at Martinsville for the 2022 MSRA Rapid Fired Pizza Nationals, brought to you by Rapid Fired Pizza and Old School Ninjas. Great driving here from Evan Longacre. The 95 machine looking again to secure himself a spot into the championship round next week at Nashville Super Speedway. And Longacre going to have quite a bit of battles to work his way through before he's up there in the top 5, where a lot of his competitors are currently at and scrapping for positions there. This is a tough race, a very tough race, and when you add in the difficulties of trying to get points here at a race like Martinsville, it's definitely not an easy one to be said to say the least here. David Santini right now with Billy Fitzgerald. These two drivers have been able to work up nearly 3 seconds, just over 3 seconds of a gap here between themselves and the rest of the field. And that's just absolutely impressive. These two drivers giving it everything that they possibly have here. And frankly, again, David Santini, he doesn't have anything to worry about in tonight's race. He can finish practically wherever he wants. And he's still going to have that spot going into next week into the championship round. Billy Fitzgerald, on the other hand, he's looking from the outside in, and he wants to be able to get there and compete next week for that championship, if at all possible. Lap 88 of 230 here at this point in the race. Evan Longacre that we're tagged along with at this moment. A lot of these drivers getting themselves a little spread out here, seeing the field kind of spread as we get further along. And frankly, kind of looking at things, there is a little bit of spread. I guess not really. After taking a second look at it, but I was going to say that we've got a little bit of a spread as far as pit stops are concerned, so maybe there's different tire wear happening, which is not necessarily untrue, but there's definitely not as many drivers on different kind of pit strategies here at this point in the race that I thought. As we get a little bit closer to another, I would say probably lap 140 to lap 150 will be the next time that drivers come down into the pits, I would have to imagine. Might be a little bit sooner than that, actually. Yeah, well, yeah, somewhere in that neighborhood. But either way, either how, drivers are all currently keeping things relatively smooth and relatively calm at this point. Lap 92 of 230. In the last time, so it's been about a 30 lap or so green flag run here for these drivers. So fairly decent run for all of these guys. In what we're really going to be looking for next, once again, is that pit stop strategy. Oh boy, Bobby Harmon having a little bit of difficulty here through 3 and 4, and that's going to bring the caution out here once again. Let's take a look here quickly at the instant replay. Self-spin and tries to correct it, but overcorrects and snaps that wheel into the wall. Man. Something that you'll see happen a lot here, but while the drivers get themselves sort of back out here, while we get the field stacked back up, we're going to take a short commercial break up here in the booth, and when we come back, we will have more coverage of the final race of the round of 8 here for the 2022 MSRA Rapid Fire Pizza Nationals. Stay tuned, don't go anywhere, and we'll be back for more iRacing right here on Team Goon Squad. Back, race fans. Currently tagged along here with David Santini and Billy Fitzgerald up in the front row. Barry Stevens, Evan Longacre taking the second row here, along with Scott Steffens, and Kenny Meadows in that third row. Perfect timing here, as well as we see the pace car make its way back down into pit road. we go back to green flag racing here once again. David Santini with a very impressive launch here. Billy Fitzgerald, Evan Longacre continue their battle side by side. A little bit more action happening towards the mid-pack here, maybe even a little bit further back here as well. John Binder getting stuck a little bit up on the outside lane here. Going to continue on with the action here. Too wide, too deep battles as we come out of turn 2 and down the back straightaway. Kenny Meadows stuck in the wall there, grinds his way into turn 3. Side by side here between Brent Wall and Scott Steffens. They just dissipate that into a single file line through 1 and 2 and down the back straightaway here once again. Colby Baber going to peek on the outside there. Scott Steffens quickly closes that door, but maybe even that was a little bit of a misstep there. Gets onto the grass into turn 3. Has to go a little high in order to save that 55 machine from getting in any worse shape. Now fighting his way through 1 and 2, and Jeffrey Meyer having to get on the brakes there to avoid contact, as there's a little bit of contact there just a second ago. David Santini, Billy Fitzgerald, Evan Longacre, they all continue to duke it out for the top spot here at this moment. You can see the 95 of Evan Longacre just a little bit further back here, trying to work his way up to the tail end here of Billy Fitzgerald. Take a little bit of a look further back here. Contact to Mike Howerton in the 51 machine. He pulls it back together, narrowly avoiding a yellow flag from coming out here. And I think Mike might not. I don't know if he's going to be too happy about that one. You know, as a driver, you may or may not want that caution in that situation to kind of be able to reset yourself and try things again here. Contact from Jeffrey Meyer and Robert Cook in the 64 machine. Trouble between these two. But we stay green, and that is phenomenal. Continuing the battle for the lead, David Santini and Billy Fitzgerald continue to duke it out here, as we're watching Mike Howerton and Scott Steffens, and Mike Knight, Matt Knight, jeez, and John Binder all duke it out here for positions. Matt Knight trying to send a little bit of action here to the tail end of Mike Howerton. Caution's out, and it's for Jeffrey Meyer and David Santini. Oh boy. There goes Meyer's machine into the wall. Oh no, that's not. Oh. Oh, folks, I'm at a loss for words for what just happened. It was so unintentional on Jeffrey Meyer's part. I don't think he knew, or had any idea that the field was going to be coming around that quickly, and he backed up. I mean, I'm sure he knew he had enough time there, and it backfired so bad. So bad. Lap 115 of 230 here, and Colby Baber going to take the lead at this point in time, as a good portion of the field going to make their way down through the pits. Get a fresh set of tires, get fuel, all that good stuff. Barry Stevens, Mike Howerton going to take that second and third place spot here. So not a whole lot is changing up towards the front of the field. I mean, Colby Baber's going to have an opportunity to lead some laps. And Mike Howerton really has been, he's kind of been teetering around this area towards the front of the field for a while now, and is now breaking into these top 30, top 5 spots. Really just has to keep himself up there and come home with a good finish here tonight, as we are, I guess you could say this is actually the halfway mark in tonight's race. We're actually a lap previous, so we are just over the halfway mark in tonight's race. So I gotta say, it's again tough racing here at Martinsville. It's going to be some very challenging racing for all of these drivers here, but they've all done a phenomenal job of making it look easy here, as they always do. Alrighty, folks, as we are back to the green flag action there. Sorry, I had to clear my sinuses. It was getting to the point where pressure was too much there, and I had to take care of that. But I do apologize for everyone that was patient during that. But looking at the action here at this point in time, a lap 121 of the 230. Again, just a little bit over that halfway mark in tonight's race, and currently tagged on here with Kenny Meadows in the number 96 machine. Seeing what he's going to do here, he's got Billy Fitzgerald, excuse me, down on the inside. Barry Stevens just a little bit behind them. Oh no, Mike Howerton, trouble here. Oh, more calamity here. The 6th, I believe Brent Wall getting some of that action here as well. Brent Wall, a little bit of a tap there to the side of the 51 of Mike Howerton's Area 51 machine, and that's enough to send him around through 1 and 2. And now he's going to be back here to starting along with Jeffrey Meyer here on this restart. I gotta say, this field just keeps getting more and more interesting. I mean, we've got drivers up here that are missing panels to their vehicles and all sorts of interesting action happening throughout tonight's race. And I gotta say, I'm all for it. It's great racing, and hopefully good action for the viewers at home. Alright, as we get ready to go back to green flag racing here, once again, Colby Baber, Evan Longacre, both restarting up here in the front row. Billy Fitzgerald, Kenny Meadows, both in the second row here. Scott Steffens and Mike Howerton in our third row. Colby Baber looking for a good finish here tonight as well. Baber currently the highest in points that is closest to David Santini right now. But David Santini definitely still has a fairly decent lead in points. That he can kind of work with to add to it to his advantage here. And through the Geico restart zone we go. Back to green flag racing here once again. Kenny Meadows, the 55 machine of Scott Steffens, going to be on the inside there for just a moment. Oh, side-by-side action here. The 78 of Barry Stevens sends it in deep here through 3 and 4. Able to move his way up into that 5th place spot here. Great move from Barry Stevens around Kenny Meadows in the number 96 machine. And looking a little bit further back, we've got more action happening as side-by-side battles. Oh, Robert Cook gets sideways here as he makes contact with Brent Wall. And excuse me, I meant to say Brent Wall got sideways there as he made contact with the 64 of Robert Cook. Lap 131 of 230, just under 100 laps left to go here tonight. And the caution coming back out here once again for the 11th time here tonight. Not exactly something that you want to hear as a driver, but sometimes it happens, and particularly when it's Martinsville, sometimes it happens. Well, folks, the lights go back off on the iRacing pace car here in Martinsville. Colby Baber and Billy Fitzgerald. Fitzgerald, who's been fighting for the win here tonight, is going to be fighting for the lead here once again on this restart now, as we are just about past the halfway mark in tonight's race, and a lot of the field has already come down through pit road to get a fresh set of tires, get fuel, everything in that regard. So back to green flag racing as the green flag drops here once more. Fitzgerald, Longacre, they both fall just a little bit behind the number 10 of Colby Baber, and Baber kind of showing his dominance here once again. We often see that number 10 machine just really just showing, just being a very impressive driver overall in the series. And tonight, no exception here. Already moving his way up into the top 3. There goes Mike Howerton. I think not exactly intentional there, but definitely keeping himself up in the 7th place spot at this moment, trying to keep up with Kenny Meadows and Scott Steffens, both trying to tag along here down the back straightaway, going into 3 and 4. Meadows into the top 5 at this moment. Looking now to track down Barry Stevens as, oh no, it only gets worse. It only gets worse the longer you watch. Oh boy. Okay, let's take a look here and see how this one unfolds here. So coming out of turn 4, there goes Scott Steffens into Brent Wall. Brent Wall into Robert Cook and into David Santini. Ay, ay, ay. So lap 140 of 230 here tonight. Less than 100 laps left to go, and it's still a very complicated, very tough race for every single one of these drivers here tonight. And I gotta say, I'm curious to see what they're gonna have to say here in their post-race interviews when we get to that point, and more curious as to who's going to be those drivers when we get there. That's going to be the big question here. Who's going to be able to come out on top and take home a win here? And not only a win, or maybe not even a win, but a podium here. Points are going to matter. I mean, again, drivers that are outside of that points cutoff are going to be looking for that win. Billy Fitzgerald is that driver. Now, it doesn't necessarily, I'm not necessarily certain that Billy Fitzgerald has to win this race, as again, he is the closest driver to that cutoff point, and he might be able to come home with a 2nd or a 3rd place spot and be able to come to that championship round. I don't know that for certain, but I could imagine that is something that he could do here. So taking a look here, Colby Baber, Billy Fitzgerald, Evan Longacre, all single file here at this moment, coming down the back straightaway. We still got the lights on the pace car, still waiting for that pace car to make its way down into pit road. Lights go off here, so I think we are going to see it. Nope, never mind. Lights are still on, so I think next time around we will see that see those lights go off, and we'll be able to go back to green flag here. But right now, at this moment, Colby Baber, Billy Fitzgerald, Evan Longacre continuing to sit up in that top 3 on these restarts and continuing to do a phenomenal job here in this race and throughout all the cautions. I mean, throughout all the restarts, it's definitely tricky. It's definitely taxing as a driver, to kind of have to put yourself in that reset mentality every so often here. But drivers have done a phenomenal job of working through it. A couple drivers having called it a night here already. That is going to be Chris Hansen, Richard Malagani, Bobby Harmon, and looks to be potentially David Santini and Scott Steffens, both going to potentially call it a race here tonight as well. both drivers having been down in the pits for well over 2.5 minutes now. Well, we'll call it at this point. So I'm not 100% confident that we will see those drivers back out here, but pace car is back into pit road. We get ready to go back to green flag racing here once more. Colby Baber, Billy Fitzgerald with a very impressive launch here. Fitzgerald trying to do all that he can here. There's some action happening just a little bit behind them. Binder with a wide line, able to keep it together here. Side-by-side action with Kenny Meadows as there's contact to Barry Stevens right into the side from Kenny Meadows. There goes Binder sideways here as well, right out of turn 4. And there's Jeffrey Meyer coming to a complete stop, trying to avoid all of that calamity here as well. So let's go ahead. I want to take a look at some of the action that just happened here. Oh, Barry Stevens getting loose there, and Kenny Meadows just ultimately not noticing and not having anywhere to go in that situation. That was a tough break. Colby Baber, Billy Fitzgerald, Kenny Meadows. All three of these drivers now going to take the top 3 here. Baber, Fitzgerald, they've both been up here for some time, duking it out. Kenny Meadows, he's been looking to get up here into the front for quite some time. Getting ready for this next restart here. Colby Baber, Billy Fitzgerald, both side by side here on this restart, and the lights are, I believe they are off on the pace car. Colby Baber back on the restart here. Excuse me, folks, if you can hear my toddler. Anyway, Colby Baber here on the restart, trying to keep up his gap here with the rest of the field, and coming out of turn 4 on the front straightaway here. A little bit of separation happening, single file in the top 5 at this moment. I'm curious to see, we've got John Binder up on the outside of Evan Longacre, and now Mike Howerton with some passes being made there out of turn number 2 on the back straight. Now coming into turn 3 and 4, Evan Longacre looking for some moves on the outside of Barry Stevens, it looks like there for a second, but now coming down to the bottom into turns 1 and 2, he's able to make that move up into 6th place here. A little bit of a wide entry, or a little bit of a wide move there through 3 and 4. I'm not sure if he was trying to, what he was trying to do there, if it was a different strategy he had in mind, but it definitely looked like he overshot that one just a little bit. But pulling things back together, just trying to keep himself as fast as possible, and knowing that, frankly, there's not going to be a whole lot of racing left here very soon. We're under 100 laps left to go, and quickly coming down to the wire at this point in time. I mean, we're within 80 laps left to go now, about to be 70 laps left to go. So time is ticking for these drivers, and they definitely have to be starting to think about what their options are going to be here, if any options are available to them at all. Well, while that all happens here, I want to go ahead. I want to ride on board with Kenny Meadows here in the 96 machine. Or rather, Robert Cook, actually, as there's a little bit of battle happening between these two drivers, and Robert Cook able to successfully make his move up into 3rd place at this moment. So some pretty intense action happening here between these drivers. There it is on our screen. But while actually we have it here, I want to ride on board with Matt Knight, the number 25 machine, who's had support in the chat and fellow fans following here. I can't speak words here tonight for some reason, but let's go ahead and listen in here with the 25 of Matt Knight for a few laps here at Martinsville. Beautiful save there from Matt Knight just a moment ago, keeping that car together and underneath him. A little bit of a wall scrape there coming out of turn number 4. Lap 165 of 230. Again, still quite a bit of racing left to be done, but we are definitely seeing the laps being ticked off rather quickly. And so far, seeing these drivers get back into a relative groove of these things. And honestly, the longer this race goes on, the more that these cars start to look like just very strange modified cars. Evan Longacre here right behind the tail of Kenny Meadows, trying to do all that he possibly can here in his 95 machine. Oh boy, that's not what we want to see here. Scott Steffens, the 55 machine, gonna get a little loose coming out of 4, and that's gonna bring out the 14th caution here tonight on lap 168 of 230. And Colby Baber, Billy Fitzgerald, Robert Cook, Kenny Meadows, Evan Longacre, they're gonna get themselves re-racked and restacked here once again, and we might actually see some pit stops here from some of these drivers. So while that all goes underway here, we're going to go ahead, step away from the booth here once again and take a commercial break. In when we come back, we will have more of the action here tonight for the final round of the round of 8. Stay tuned, folks, don't go anywhere, and we'll be back for more iRacing right here on Team Goon Squad. Welcome back, race fans. As we await for the drivers get ready to go back to green here, getting the indicator to go double file here as the lights go off on the pace car. John Binder and Colby Baber going to be side by side here on this restart in the front row. Billy Fitzgerald, Evan Longacre going to be in the second row, with Robert Cook and Mike Howerton all in the third row here tonight. Cautions out here already as trouble through turns 1 and 2. Let's take a look at some of the action here. Mike Howerton gets loose, and there goes the 64 of Robert Cook right into the side, bringing out the caution here once again. lights go off on the pace car here once again after a very, very rough restart last time around with Mike Howerton getting a little loose there. But Colby Baber, John Binder restarting up in the front row here once again. Billy Fitzgerald, Evan Longacre in the second row. Barry Stevens and Matt Knight taking that third row here as we enter turns 3 and 4. The pace car makes its way down into pit road. We get ready for the green flag to drop here once again as we come through the Geico restart zone, and away we go. John Binder, 33 driver, going to have an opportunity to lead some laps here, and let's see if we make through turns 1 and 2 a-okay here. Some drivers getting real spicy there, going side by side, just like Colby Baber there and Billy Fitzgerald were doing through 3 and 4. Fitzgerald going to fall just behind the 10 of Colby Baber here and John Binder. Single file down the back straightaway, heading into turns 3 and 4 here once again. Binder going to have to fend off drivers that are on pretty significantly fresher tires at this moment. John Binder coming in lap 148. Colby Baber, Fitzgerald, Evan Longacre, I mean, these drivers have all come in lap 169, so they are definitely going to be a little bit faster here than the 33 machine, but it's going to come down to whether or not they can get that 33 driver to make a mistake here to allow them to be able to make up that position. As again, passing here is not easy here at Martinsville. We've already seen the result of some of what can happen here when you try and make passes here. And there goes Colby Baber down to the inside. Through 3 and 4, it doesn't quite work this time around. Billy Fitzgerald now going to try and take a move up on the outside through 1 and 2. Not quite going to work that time around. As John Binder here going to continue to lead this field, and there goes Colby Baber down into the inside, making a move through 1 and 2 down the back straightaway. Now going to take an opportunity to potentially take the lead here from the 33 machine as we go through 3 and 4 out onto the front straight. This is where drivers again can build up a lot of speed, a lot of momentum here at Martinsville. Billy Fitzgerald now going to be back up into that second place spot, trying to fight for that lead that he's been working for so hard tonight. Oh, contact. Kenny Meadows goes into the wall, and I believe Robert Cook here gets a little loose all on his own. Kenny Meadows and Mike Howerton, they're both side by side there. Oh, yeah, I'm not sure about that one. That almost looked a little intentional. I don't know, folks. I'm just a broadcaster, but that one definitely seemed like a little bit of aggression was being taken out there. You know, and in fairness of Kenny Meadows there, it definitely did seem like Mike Howerton, you know, was getting into him. And definitely giving him some troubles there. But I don't know if it quite warranted that kind of response. Again, we don't get to see the whole picture here up here in the booth, so we only get to see what happens in front of our eyes at that point in time. But definitely tough situation, and just hopefully it isn't deemed intentional or aggressive, however you want to deem it, but definitely a little spicy on that one, to say the least. As the lights go off on the pace car here once again. Gonna get ready to go back to green flag racing here once more. Here at Martinsville for the final race of the round of 8 going into the championship next week at Nashville Super Speedway. Pace car is in as we get ready to go back to green flag, and away we go. Here for what could be potentially the final time. Colby Baber going to look to drive it away from the rest of this field as there's a little bit of trouble towards the back. Matt Knight getting involved in some calamity here. Going to have to drop towards the tail end of the field, but luckily, well, maybe not so luckily, avoiding a caution here. Matt Knight, the number 25, a very, very unfortunate situation, getting loose on the back straightaway and getting collected with the wall and I think another driver there at one point, and trying to save the car all at the same time. Oh boy, that could have been horrendous there. Brett Wall, I think, overdriving that one into turns 1 and 2, or maybe having some issues with the turning of that machine. Let's see if we can take a look from the inside and see if Brent Wall might be having some issues here or what the case might be. It doesn't seem like he's having anything terribly going wrong with his machine at this moment. Well, just coming through the grapevine as the caution comes out here for Scott Stevens getting involved in a little bit of an incident. Kenny Meadows has been suspended for 1 race after that caution, or after that previous caution with him involving Mike Howerton in the number 51 machine. So very unfortunate here for Meadows in the 96, but got to be done. What's got to be done has got to be done sometimes, and unfortunately, that just had to include Kenny Meadows. Tough break here, but I think it's been a tough race for all of these drivers here tonight, and really can't pin it on any one driver, to say the least. So. Also hearing through the grapevine here as well that the screen of Kenny Meadows apparently froze at that point in time, and that very well could happen. Technology is not a perfect thing, but that definitely the events leading up to that point definitely did not make it. Yeah, definitely a tough one to call, I think, for the marshals, but the decision has been made, and what's done is done. So as we continue on, pacing laps here, lap 202 of 230, Colby Baber continues to hold on to this lead, and going to be looking to come away with potentially a win here tonight. And for Colby, that is going to mean a secured spot going into that championship next week. For Billy Fitzgerald, I'm a little bit up in the air on that one. So we have Barry Stevens is 16 points away from the cutoff, and Billy Fitzgerald is 15 points away from the cutoff. But he is at risk of being taken out of the championship round. So Billy really needs this finish here tonight. And with Barry Stevens being right in that fourth place spot, I don't know for certain, folks, but this could be a very interesting end to tonight's race. Pace car is in as we get ready to go back to green flag. It'll be 25 laps left to go once we come across the checkered line. And for these drivers, it could be a very, very quick 26 laps left to go here tonight at Martinsville Speedway. Side by side through 1 and 2, almost 3 wide as we come down the back straightaway. Matt Knight still out here, still fighting for positions here as well, as Mike Howerton going to take the lead of this group for the 6th place spot. All of these drivers trying to find some action here, and Robert Cook trying to keep himself up in the mix of things. As Colby Baber, Billy Fitzgerald, they continue their fight up here towards the front, and you can even see Evan Longacre and John Binder fighting it out there for that 3rd place spot at this moment. Caution is out, though, for Mike Howerton. Area 51 machine finding himself. I believe this might be a one-car incident. Let's take a look here and see. Oh, it definitely was not. Matt Knight getting right into the side of, oh boy, insult to injury there from Robert Cook. But yeah, definitely not a one-car incident here, but Mike Howerton catching the worst end of it by far. And only with 23 laps left to go here. So with 20 laps left to go here, Colby Baber, Billy Fitzgerald, John Binder, Barry Stevens, and Brent Wall, all of them going to be our top 5 here. Just waiting for the pace car, for the lights to go off, and for these drivers to get stacked back up 2 wide and get ready for the next start here. But 18th caution of the race, this has definitely not been the night for long run strategies. Definitely has been a real test of a driver's ability to make these restarts happen. But 19 laps left to go. Not a whole lot longer left, but even knowing that there's only 19 left to go, I believe there is still unlimited green-white checkered attempts here. So they can go for as long as they need to, or until the time limit expires. Back to green flag racing here a little bit. Oh, 3 wide action as the 95 makes contact into the side of Mike Howerton. Green flag stays out here as Evan Longacre is the only driver back here at this moment. He's going to just have to take the bullet here and fall back towards the tail end of the field, but there goes the yellow flag. Let's take a look here and see what the cautions brought out for Mike Howerton alongside Meyer. There goes Matt Knight trying to make a move down onto the inside. So just kind of minor contact there. I think this was probably an afterthought here for race control. They probably were like, hey, you know what? We should probably bring out the caution. Or maybe it was a little early. Maybe it was a jump in the gun a little early. Maybe they saw something that we just didn't. Up here in the booth, they could read it in the tracks, read it in the rubber that there was going to be an incident there. But for whatever reason, with 15 laps left to go, this is going to be an extremely tough start for these drivers, and the cautions are just going to be something they have to work around, that they have to be able to overcome. $14 laps left to go here. We've still got fans cheering on Matt Knight here in the number 25 machine, who's still up here on the lead lap as well. So been able to keep himself up here with the action and with all of throughout all of the calamity and throughout all the incidents here tonight. But 13 laps left to go. It is going to be a spicy one here, and for Colby Baber, this is a good opportunity here to kind of pull away from this lead. And for John Binder, even though he's not even competing for the championship at this point or in the playoffs. So he's just here to party, and he's here up on the pole and going to be able to show that he's still got what it takes, even outside, even when he's not competing for the playoffs or for the championship. But Billy Fitzgerald still up there in that third place spot, looking to come away with that finish here tonight as well. I assume somewhere in the neighborhood of the top 3 here. As the pace car makes its way down into pit road. Getting ready to go back to green flag racing here once again. Through the Geico restart zone. The green flag drops and it's 11 laps left here to go. Colby Baber jumping it away from the rest of this field here. We saw 3 wide there for just a second. A little bit of contact there. Trouble for the 78 of Barry Stevens. Moving through 3 and 4 now. Brent Wall up ahead of the rest of the group here as the 33 of John Binder gets up on the outside lane and has to power his way through that section. And Colby Baber, Billy Fitzgerald, they both continue to battle it out here for that lead spot. As there's more action happening just a little bit behind them with 9 laps left to go here. Single file through this field, and Evan Longacre looking for an opportunity through Barry Stevens to try and get a spot up here as we come across the line. 6 laps left to go here through 1 and 2 here. Longacre down to the inside, out of turn 2 onto the back straightaway, able to get out in front. Barry Stevens here into that 6th place spot, and meanwhile Colby Baber still fending off Billy Fitzgerald in that number 22 machine here with 5 laps left to go as we come out of turn 2 and onto the back straightaway with these 2 drivers. Clicking off these laps here very quickly. And caution is out here. Once again, Jeffrey Meyer getting involved in this one in the number 50 machine. It looks to be potentially a lone car incident. Let's see what happened here as we go through 3 and 4. Oh boy, right into the restart zone, gets loose and able to bring that car to a stop without making further damage, further contact to the wall here. And this is going to enter into our green-white checkered attempts here. 3 laps will be left to go here once we go back to green. So final chance to dance for these drivers, and gotta say, it's been a long race for these drivers. 230 laps is a long time behind the wheel here, but when you add in the cautions and the carnage, it makes it a whole different breed of race. 3 laps left to go. As I mentioned just a little bit earlier, my good friend and boss slash colleague James East here, enjoying the action here tonight for the 2022 MSRA Rapid Fire Pizza Nationals for the round finale of the round of 8 before we head off into the championship next week at Nashville Super Speedway. And I gotta say again, you know, this has been a very, very tight battle all race long for the drivers that are in that cutoff, looking to secure a spot going into that championship. And looking at things right now, it could go, oh man, things have changed very differently since the last time we talked about it. And you know, we've got drivers like Brent Wall who aren't necessarily up here fighting for a spot in the championship. They're still up here on the podium looking to take a spot there. But now we have Colby Baber and Billy Fitzgerald both up here fighting for a spot here once again. So, you know, unless Barry Stevens, which he is, and Evan Longacre kind of find their way ahead of Billy Fitzgerald here, I don't know. One of these two drivers might be finding themselves out of an opportunity for a championship spot going into next week. But we'll just have to wait and see. James East giving a shout out to Evan Longacre, the league owner, founder, as well as the, I believe, one of the sponsors for Rapid Fire Pizza, if I'm understanding things correctly here. But either way, back to green flag. 2 laps left to go. This is where it counts. This is where drivers got to give all the beans. And going through 3 and 4, contact between Brent Wall and Evan Longacre. The white flag is out here, though. It is the final chance for drivers to make a shot happen here tonight. And so far, Colby Baber holds on to that lead here as we go through 3 and 4. Fitzgerald, the checkered flag flies here. It is the last time across the checkered line for these two drivers, and they come across very, very smoothly between these two. And so far, single file for the rest of the field as they all make their way across the line here. And Brent Wall, yeah, he's going to bring it to a stop there, but good racing for everyone here tonight, and luckily able to kind of avoid another late race caution there in the end, and not making it a multiple GWC race here. That definitely can go on for quite some time, it feels like. But Colby Baber, great work here from the number 10 driver, able to come home with that win here. And let's go ahead. We're going to go into our our post-race interviews, and go ahead and get started with that here. So first driver that we are going to have up here tonight is going to be Evan Longacre in the number 95 machine, coming up with that 3rd place spot here tonight. Let me go ahead and find Mr. Longacre here. Just give me 1 second. There he is. Evan, sir, welcome to the booth. Congratulations on a 3rd place finish here tonight. I mean, I'm not sure if it was exactly the finish that you were hoping for, given that, you know, we were kind of talking a little bit before the race started here tonight, Evan. You mentioned that, you know, drivers that are outside of that cutoff line are going to be looking for a win at least here tonight. And, you know, I was kind of wondering if you yourself were going to be one of those drivers that were going to be looking for a win here tonight and able to come home with a 3rd place. I mean, was it what you were hoping for, or were you hoping for better here tonight?
No, I mean, I'm happy with it. I knew what guys I had to try to finish in front of. You know, it's Martinsville, so who the heck knows what's going to happen here. You know, I just in case somebody else won that was below that cutoff line. You just never know who, what you got to do. So that was kind of the game plan, just to run well, and I'll take third place. I'm not going to complain about that one bit.
Absolutely. Well, coming home with third place, and I'm not going to make anything. I'm not going to say anything unofficial here yet until I know for certain what the points actually look like here. But it's definitely going to be an interesting week going into Nashville. And assuming, Evan, that you are one of the drivers competing for that championship, what's kind of your hopes going into next week? I know that David Santini, he definitely has a pretty solid lead in points at this moment, as far as I'm aware. But what are you kind of thinking going into next week, and how do you think that night's going to shape out?
No, so I think the playoffs, I think it's going to be myself, David Santini, Colby Baber, and Barry Stevens. I think that's kind of how that's all set. And points reset going into Nashville. So I mean, it's at that point, it's winner take all. So going in with a clean slate, playoff points, nothing else that's happened so far this season really matters. So that's kind of the plan there. Just go in and see what happens.
Absolutely. Well, good luck to you going into Nashville next week, and congratulations here once again on a podium finish here tonight, coming home with that third place. It's got to be a good feeling here for the 95 team. But Evan, before we let you go and celebrate here tonight, is anyone watching the broadcast, anyone in the pit crew or at home that you want to shout out and thank before we go?
Yeah, no, gotta thank David Santini and OSN for running with us, or sponsoring the league. Along with Rapid Fire Pizza for being the presenting sponsor here. I got the bank that I work at, First Savings Bank, here on the car. I got to thank all the guys that show up and race every single week. It'd be nice if some guys would keep their thumb off of the radio button throughout the course of the evening on our end. But beggars can't be choosers. So there's a little bit of that. But and then, got to thank Jeffrey Meyer for sponsoring our the non-playoff driver award. So, got to thank Jeffrey for that. I appreciate him doing that to a random non-playoff driver who shows up, and for the 13th place finisher. So, thanks to Jeffrey and Nitro Racing for sponsoring that award. Thank you to you guys every week for showing up. I think my dad watches the broadcast, so shout out to him. Thanks to him for watching and supporting, and I'll see everybody in Nashville.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for joining me up here in the booth, Evan, and I look forward to seeing you next week, and hopefully get to talk to you again there.
Hey, I'll see ya.
Absolutely. Have a good one. Alrighty, folks, that was Evan Longacre coming out of the booth here tonight with that third place finish here tonight. Up next is going to be Billy Fitzgerald in the second place spot here tonight, going to be coming home with a podium finish here. Billy, welcome to the booth. Congratulations on a very solid finish here tonight. I mean, you had a very good start to your race here, and Martinsville, definitely a very tough track to start in the front and stay in the front. But you definitely worked your way through all of the calamity, all of the cautions, and just kind of all of the certain difficulties that drivers might expect here. But Billy, coming into tonight, what was your goal? What was your expectations? And did tonight kind of play out the way that you hoped it would? And what are you kind of looking forward to going into next week at Nashville?
I was definitely confident coming into this race. I didn't think I would have that much pace, but it worked out really well. And yeah, when you're out front, you can pretty much do what you want to do. You can brake when you want to. And, I got behind Colby. Every time I would try to, every time I would close up and go to make a move, a caution would come out. And it was just, I needed more than, 5 laps to do something with it. And it's still hard to pass on the outside here. So you just kind of have to hope the guy in front of you, wears his tires up and, slips or something, but it just didn't happen. But I'm very happy with second place. I think I might have been the only one left without damage. I don't know how I got that lucky, but yep.
Well, I mean, hey, I would take that as a good sign and, take that momentum, carry it forward next week into Nashville, because I'm certain that we're going to see some spicy action there, and it's going to be some exciting racing there. But, Billy, I mean, again, kind of overlooking some of the, the past season that we've had here and some of the things that you've done over this season, and kind of capping things off here tonight. If we don't get the chance to talk to you next week, is what kind of shout outs do you want to give? What kind of thank yous do you want to give out to certain people? And what are kind of your goals, wrapping up this season and looking forward? What are kind of your, I'm going to say it again. What are kind of your goals looking into future seasons?
Well, I mean, I'm still, fairly new tire racing. When I came into this season, when Evan invited me in, I didn't expect to do as well as I have. I mean, it took a while, but so next year, just keep practicing, run more officials, and figure out how to manage tires better. But I'd like to give a shout out to Rapid Fire Pizza, the series sponsor, Old School Ninjas, the guys at OSN Racing, for everything they've helped me with this year. Jeffrey Meyer with Nitro Racing, and thank you guys for covering these races.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us up here in the booth tonight, and good luck to you next week, and hopefully get to talk to you again there.
Yep. Thank you.
Absolutely. Have a good one. Alrighty, folks, that was Billy Fitzgerald coming home with that second place finish here tonight. Colby Baber going to come home with the win here tonight, and I do not see Mr. Colby Baber anywhere around up here in the broadcasting area, so I'm going to take that as we will not have an opportunity to talk to Mr. Baber here tonight in the number 10 machine, but want to give a shout out to him. Want to give huge props to the number 10 driver for coming home with that win here tonight. Very impressive for Colby. And on that note here, folks, that is going to conclude our coverage of tonight's event here at Martinsville Speedway for the 2022 MSRA Rapid Fired Pizza Nationals, brought to you by Rapid Fired Pizza and Old School Ninjas. My name is Mason Heimball with Team Goon Squad, once again bringing you the action here tonight. I want to thank each and every single one of you who have tuned in tonight and have watched the broadcast. If you enjoyed what you saw, hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and catch all the action that we have here on Team Goon Squad 7 days a week. And be sure to get yourself ready for the action next week for the championship round at Nashville Super Speedway. Thank you all once again for tuning in and watching, and I will see you all next week, same time, same place, for the championship round.